We welcome you to beautiful Iowa Speedway as we are moments away from determining who will be the final four to compete for the championship here this season in the Veterans of Foreign War Cup Series. I'm Seth Cole alongside of Samuel Dyer. And Sam, 8 drivers entered into this round with hopes of advancing into ISM. Right now, only 1 driver is locked in, and it's looking like there may be about 5 drivers battling for those final 3 positions.
Yeah, it looks like Zach York and Caden Rush, who have been not having the best round of not really showing up. Both those drivers did not show up again this weekend, so both of them officially are out of challenging for the Final Four, which both of them were kind of favorites going into the playoffs. Now this completely opens up the rest of the field. With 14 drivers here today, it's going to be very hot and heavy, and it's looking like it's going to be very difficult for Ryan Strunk, who's going to be 8 points out of making it into this top 4 in points wise. He's going to have to battle his way forward and hope that one of these drivers that's inside of the top 4 has a bad day.
And the biggest reason why it is difficult for these drivers to either move their way in or maybe even to fall out of the top 4 is because there are only 13 drivers scheduled to take the green flag here. And as soon as I say that, looks like only 12 will be taking the green. You saw a gap to the outside of Vincent Arthur. That was supposed to be the 96 of Ty McWhirter. Not sure what's going on with him, as if he does get in here, he'll probably not be on the lead lap.
Yeah, he's going to have to start from pit road if he connects back. The issue is iRacing deemed that his internet was not good enough. It actually was removed from the server. So it's still possible for Ty McWhirter to get in here, but a lot of shuffling going on. James Love going to hit with an EOL at the start of this race. I believe he did not have enough practice, so that's why we're seeing that machine dropping to the back. But this is really going to be shocking to see. With Ty McWhirter out, he was one of the 4 drivers in the bubble to be making it into our Final Four next week. So, Seth, an opening wide open now for some of these drivers.
7 points ahead of Vincent Arthur, who comes into today's race 5th in the playoff standings. And with the fact that the 96 is going to be more than likely 13th when they cross the line to take the green flag, that automatically moves Vincent Arthur up into one of those final 4 spots.
And now it's going to be a battle of 4 drivers for the 3 spots. One of these drivers that are on track right now is going to be between Taylor Butcher Benjamin, Chad Gunsman, Vincent Arthur, and Ryan Strunk. One of them's not going to be making it in to the Final 4.
For Taylor Butcher Benjamin, looks like he would have to finish, I'd say maybe at least in the top 8, maybe 9, that he could point his way in just based on the number of drivers that we have in the field here tonight and the fact of him being second in the points, even if a driver won their way into the round of 4.
Well, actually looking at this, I mean, he honestly, just because he's battling with Ryan Strunk at this point to figure out who's going to make it in, it's going to be almost like Taylor Butcher Benjamin just needs to run in the top 10 and he's good. I don't even think he really needs to even finish in the top 10. Him just starting might have locked him in.
He started this race from the 4th position, trying to take 3rd from Ty Coles. We got a car almost up into the wall there off of turn 2. That's the bright pink FSM Customs Chevrolet of Chris Noble battling with Chad Gunisman for the 6th position.
6th place being battled very hard here. Ryan Strunk at this point just needs to get up front and run in the top 3, as this 77 machine has been quick, but on the inside dropping quick and dropping fast. Ty Cole losing positions for that 34 machine, dropping back now to 6th place.
Here's the 2 of Boyd Hogan, another new look for that number 2 machine. We've seen him run red, we've seen him run black, we've seen him run blue. He's in silver here tonight with that Reaper Ford Mustang right now in that 8th position, the only driver we know in this race that is locked into the ISM finale.
Yeah, and right now in the lead, Vincent Arthur right now looking good to be locking his way in with a great finish here today due to Ty McWhirter having his misfortunes of not being able to take the green here. This is looking great for the 24 machine, but he's being hunted down by his teammate of the 9 of Joseph Piscota.
And Piscota the last few weeks has been unbelievable in terms of his consistency. You almost wonder what would have happened if he'd been able to advance into the round of 8. More than likely, we would have been looking at him as one of our final 4 next week in the finale as well. But he is trying to see if he can get around his teammate Vincent Arthur and you have to wonder, at what point are you a racer? At what point are you a teammate? Because he has to know the situation that if Arthur wins this race, he's into the Final Four. But because of the troubles of Ty McWhirter early and Vincent Arthur right now up into the top four, does Piscotto then say, all right, buddy, you got to earn it. I'm going to try and take this win from you?
I mean, both these drivers have been racing hard around one another, but respectfully, they're not wrecking each other out, but still running hard as teammates as side-by-side action was going on for that third place position for a second there. The 11 of Butcher Benjamin just doing what he needs to do. Run up front, get a top 5 finish, and he's locked in points-wise.
Battle for 7th, Chad Gunisman. On the outside, that's David Santini back for the second week in a row, driving for the Chip Ganassi Racing Team. Santini, of course, going to victory lane 2 weeks ago in the Rapid Fire Pizza National Series race and finishing second here last night in the National Series as well.
Yeah, David Santini, someone to always look out for in the Rapid Fire National Series. Those guys were quick last night, staying mostly green with only a handful of cautions to come out. Well, we're looking right now. I mean, usually it's the opposite when we come here to the Veteran Foreign War Cup Series of what we usually see on the National Series on Fridays. So it's looking good that we're green for the first 8 laps, side-by-side racing as Chris Noble's dropping back just like Ty Cole.
Taking a look at our track temperature here, 72 degrees. I believe last night's race they were running about 66 degrees track temp, so a little bit hotter, maybe a little bit slicker for these Cup Series drivers. But in last night's race, our first 2 cautions ended up coming out around green flag pit stop times. It was for drivers that were out there on slicker, newer tires. So do we see that same type of a race here today where it's going to benefit the driver that has his car set up for the long run?
Yeah, I mean, it's really going to be set up for the long run for these drivers. And right now, I mean, the drivers are aiming for that lap around 80. That's when these drivers are most likely going to be running out of fuel. 80 to 85 is that fuel window. We were also seeing last night drivers trying a 3-stop strategy. We'll see if anyone decides to try that out, but side-by-side action for the lead. Piscotto on the inside.
Hendrick Motorsports teammates going to battle for the top position. Both these drivers looking for their first career wins in the Veterans of Foreign War Cup Series.
And a driver is back. Ty McWhirter is logged back in. The only issue, 9 laps down. He's going to need a lot of quick cautions and hope that no one else goes a lap down in front of him.
You have to wonder, I'm not 100% certain, but if we did have a caution, do you think that league admins would maybe give the 96 a bye in terms of the fact that he was in, he did lay down practice laps, he did lay down a qualifying lap, qualified second, that they would get him back on the lead lap under a caution period?
I mean, some leagues and some admins do that. If an early caution comes out, they recognize, hey, this was an internet issue. It wasn't a racing issue while you're so many laps down. And others, they're just going to say, hey, that's just a process of racing here virtually. If your internet fails on you, yeah, it's just tough luck for you, and better hope that you have better luck next time.
Ty McWhirter came into this race 7 points ahead of that cut line, and right now, with the 24, Vincent Arthur not only running in second, but having that bonus point for a lap led, leading the first 12 laps of this race. He is now into the Final Four. Taylor Butcher Benjamin continues to ride in the 5th position. He just got bypassed by David Santini. That one car is on a mission right now, trying to see if he can be yet another Rapid Fire Pizza National Series driver to win in a Cup Series race. Logan Hilton did it back at Daytona. And right now, Chad Gunisman doing what he needs to do. He's currently in the 7th position, all over the back bumper, now to the inside of Ryan Strunk.
Yeah, David Santini is looking quick, but the driver that's running faster than him, that's going to be Boyd Hogan, who's now on the back bumper of Vincent Arthur and about to push this 24 machine a lap down. Boyd Hogan did not start up front, and that's because he did not place a qualifying lap, starting in 9th place, and now all the way up to 2nd place now for this 2 machine. He is just making a hard charge and trying to get back to where he's been all season long.
Penske Racing has swept one of the rounds here so far this season. That was the round of 16, with Boyd Hogan winning at Darlington and Richmond, and his teammate Curtis Sawyer completing the sweep with his win at Bristol. Right now, Boyd Hogan trying to have Penske Racing sweep the round of 8, but trying to do it himself as he has won the last 2 races so far at Kansas and Texas.
Yeah, and honestly, this two machine looks quick enough to be doing it again with another sweep. David Santini moving up quick as well. Our biggest move so far in this race, 18 laps into this race, it's David Santini and Boyd Hogan. Santini started in 10th place, now up to third side by side with Vincent Arthur. And Arthur really not giving up that position. And Boyd Hogan started in 9th place, up to 2nd place.
It's interesting if you kind of compare last night's National Series race to today's Cup race. Everybody seemed to want to run the bottom in last night's race. Here today, we're seeing David Santini making the forward progress, running up in the middle group. He was running about the upper middle lane when he was reeling in drivers like Taylor Butcher Benjamin and Vincent Arthur. So there is something to be found up in that second groove, apparently.
Yeah, you're not turning as hard, so it's not as aggressive onto hurting your tires, but it will start to heat up your tires just a little bit more on the high side. So you got to keep your eyes out on those front rights to see if they continue to hold up the longer you stay in the middle. But so far, these drivers are so quick right now. Santini as well as Hogan running very similar lap times of a 23.8 that last time, by about a tenth faster than what the Hendrick driver's been running with a 23.9, and Vincent Arthur with a 24.1.
Boyd Hogan trying to reel in Joseph Piscota for the race lead as we've dropped back to the latter portion of the top 10. This is 8th, 9th, and 10th. The Front Row Motorsports Ford Mustang of Ty Cole trapped between a Richard Childress sandwich. That's Chris Noble in front of him and Kevin Roy in the 31 behind him.
Ty Cole rocking some Halloween skins. It's Halloween here tonight. Trick or treat. Some drivers trying to give us a treat with this amazing racing action. As Chris Noble getting a little bit out of shape out of 4.
The 77, if I'm not mistaken, also running a special Halloween scheme, as it looks like, I might be wrong. It looked like there was maybe a ghost there on the hood of his race car. No, I guess not.
You know, certain drivers feel like, hey, let's put on a scheme. Other drivers thinking, hey, let's stick with keep with the good Mojo Jojo and just keep on with the scheme that we have and see if that continues forward. I mean, Boyd Hogan, he's been swapping it up all playoffs, and it really hasn't mattered, as this two machine's just been quick all season long. Most wins out of all the drivers. And the question is, going into next week, even if you find yourself in the top 4, who do you even think could even challenge Boyd Hogan at this point? ISM, a very tricky track at times, but Boyd Hogan in that too seems to be like he's really captured every single win at every single type of course.
And that's what you call the big question of who's going to be able to step up and challenge that 2 car for this championship, because momentum right now definitely on his side with going to victory lane in the last 2 races. He's gone to victory lane this season now a total of 14 times. So, you know, the only thing that I can maybe use as a possible scenario is these drivers did run at Phoenix earlier on this season, and the highest driver of those that are here tonight in the hunt for making it into the Final 4 was Taylor Butcher Benjamin. He finished in 6th, Hogan finished in 8th, and Chad Goodisman finished in 11th. So Taylor Butcher Benjamin has a +2 finishing position advantage at a previous Phoenix race over Boyd Hogan. But again, only time's going to tell, because there's so many different factors. We don't know how many drivers are going to be showing up for the finale next week, so we don't know how possible it is that the 2 car or any of the other that advance to the Final 4 could run into some trouble. We don't know, any possible mechanical problems that could take place, any possible pit road speeding penalties. There's just too many factors right now to be able to kind of gauge if that 2 car does have a chink in his armor.
Yeah, it's pretty difficult for sure, but looking to the drivers right now, feeling pretty comfortable about where they are in points. You know the 2 is, he's already locked in. You also got to think that the 11 of Butcher Benjamin coming in with his buffer and where he's running feeling good, as well as Chad Gunsman feeling pretty confident due to the fact that he's running in the top 5, exactly what he needed to do if he wants a chance to be in that top 4.
You know, it's interesting too, because you look at a lot of the drivers where they are in the points right now, and for some of them, it was rather easy for them to be able to move on to the next round. Boyd Hogan had a lot of playoff points. Ty McWhirter had some playoff points to be able to fall back on as well. But Taylor Butcher Benjamin, he ended up winning the regular season championship, so he got those 10 playoff points there. Chad Gunisman, on the other hand, though, finished second in the overall standing, so he didn't get any playoff points as far as winning the regular season championship, and he hasn't won a race this season. So he's had to scratch and claw and be consistent to find himself where he is now with a chance of moving on to that Final Four.
Yeah, and consistency is really what we've seen throughout all the different series that we broadcast here on the Flatout Racing Network. It's all about, if you are consistent, you're usually the driver that wins the championship. Some drivers that are running in the back and have clobbered the wall pretty hard. Chris Noble as well as James Love, both of those machines have heavy damage, and we saw this last night with Cole Hooper. That 0-0 last night clobbered the wall so many times that he actually had to exit out of the race with how heavily damaged that machine was, and that's something to keep our eyes out. If Ty McWhorter, as long as he stays out on track, just keeps on running laps, will someone DNF, which the more positions he gets, the more chances he has of actually being in the top 4, just because he just needs to get a top 10 finish.
Watching this battle here just ahead of Ty McWhorter. This is for 4th place between Vincent Arthur and Chad Gunnisman, and I was also watching the telemetry between race leader Joseph Piscota and the two of Boyd Hogan. You mentioned how Boyd Hogan was really laying down some of the best lap times, cutting his way up through the field. As soon as he got up there to 2nd place, though, he's kind of stalled out, running anywhere from 6 to 8 tenths behind Joseph Piscota. It is slightly more daytime conditions here for the Cup race than it was last night for the National Series race. Are we seeing a little bit more in terms of tire wear, and that's what has stalled out the momentum of the 2-car, having to pass so many drivers on his way up to the front?
I mean, it's a little bit of him passing all those drivers and putting a lot more wear and tear on his tires, and also Piscota really saving his tires. Once he passed the 24 machine, he really didn't try to pull away from him, and he really didn't try to make a pass until he had to, letting Vincent Arthur really use up his tires, and then the 9 machine gifted the lead and now just kind of waited. Like you stated, once Boyd Hogan was within a half a second, that 9 car just took off. Actually was running either the same lap times or a little bit faster than what Boyd Hogan was running, but that last time by, Piscota dropped off by like a rock, and he's starting to catch up to lap cars. James Love in front of our leader, and he's been involved in the wall a couple of times. Our leaders have to be aware that a simple incident from a lap car could cost them. We've seen that at other short tracks. Could it happen here?
That's also a teammate to the 9 of Joseph Piscota, so you have to wonder, will James Love try and play a little defense for the 9 and try and help him hold an advantage between himself and Boyd Hogan? Looks like Love will move to the outside line, and what we're seeing the same thing that we saw in last night's race here, Sam, where it doesn't matter where you run in the field, a lot of drivers struggling with corner exit. Saw David Santini a couple laps ago go up and brush the outside wall off of 4. Boyd Hogan was up and brushing the outside wall off of 2 just a lap ago.
Yeah, and you know what's funny, last night we were questioning, why was Santini running that high line so much? And it seemed like it was costing him time on a win. But here right now, I mean, that's the similar lane that he kind of was running last night, but it's working a lot better here in these Cup cars than it was in the Xfinity cars.
I have to wonder too, you know, there is obviously a difference between the Cup and the Xfinity cars in terms of the composite bodies. We know that the Xfinity cars, that they're built pretty durable. Hitting the outside wall isn't necessarily your day over. A lot of contact can be made between drivers, and they're able to continue on. The Cup cars are a little bit more sensitive, so you have to wonder if someone, to the point you made earlier, goes up and clobbers that outside wall, just how much of a difference that's going to create in the handling of that race car the longer the run goes on.
I mean, it's affected James Love enough that he is the first car to go a lap down, be 1 lap down right at the moment. Ty McWhorter, who did not take off at the green, he was now 9 laps down at the moment for that 96 machine. So, I mean, James Love's kind of the control car for that. He's got heavy damage on that right side, and it's really not hurt. It's really hurting him on the long run. But that battle for second place, I mean, David Santini is running that outside lane, and he's getting such a run down the front and back stretch coming out of 3 and 4.
You're riding on board here with David Santini. Not noticing over in 3 and 4 as much, but I'm noticing it over here in 1 and 2. How when these drivers go down into the corner, the cars almost kind of bounce. It's like the suspension bounces up and down.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a dip there that these drivers have to deal with that bounces their car up, and if you hit it right, It will help your car turn. If you hit it wrong, though, it's just going to launch your car either into the apron and then get you loose, or launch you up into the outside wall. So that bump is going to help you or very much hinder you in the future of this race.
Iowa has what is known as progressive banking, about 12 degrees down the inside, up to 14 degrees up to the outside wall, as Santini may have brushed the wall there off of turn 4, losing him some momentum. He's now dropped about a half second behind Boyd Hogan, but as these two have been battling, Joseph Piscota has continued to pull away. It's now 1.3 seconds between himself and the second place battle. It looks like it might be closing up again, heading for turn 1.
Yeah, right now, I mean, Piscota just needs to continue what he's doing and hope that once Boyd Hogan gets some fresher tires, he's not just running down the 9 car immediately. But Hogan had a little bit of a slip up through 1 and 2. Looked like he hit that bump and it just launched him up onto the outside. Here comes David Santini now in the 1, making the pass for second place.
And Joseph Piscota going to victory lane here tonight would be the best thing for his teammate Vincent Arthur. Because as we said, Arthur right now in 4th, McWhirter down in 14th. Arthur would be in that 4th and final playoff position if Ryan struck. Whoa, gracious.
Hogan getting very out of shape out of 2 and able to save it for that 2 machine. He's did not hit the wall, but you got to lose a lot of time now, losing over a second on David Santini.
I was going to bring up here with Ryan Strunk. If he were able to win here tonight, technically in a must-win situation, he would leapfrog Vincent Arthur and knock him out of the Final Four. So right now, Vincent Arthur liking the circumstances he sees up here at the front, because if Piscota were to win, if Santini were to win, or if Hogan were to win, none of them would influence Vincent Arthur's his chances of being able to move on to the championship battle.
Yeah, and right now Vincent Arthur is just hoping that everyone finishes where they are now. If they do, he should be making it into the next round, and it's going to be a hard battle for this 24 machine as he's losing positions, and honestly is about to be hounded down now by the 22 machine as Chad Gunsman taking a little bit of a draft from the 96 to Ty McWhirter, as McWhirter has just been lingering around these 4th through 7th position battle that's been happening.
Folks, if you just joined us here, this is the penultimate race of the Veterans of Foreign War Cup Series here at Iowa. This is going to be the race that sets the Final Four at ISM for the championship next week, and that 96 of Ty McWhirter, who came into this race in the Final Four, some connection problems in the early stages of this race. He was finally able to get onto the track, but currently has scored 9 laps down in the 14th position. And we saw last night's race, 2 very long green flag runs. We're seeing a long green flag run here as well. You almost think that even a miracle might not work for Ty McWhirter being that many laps down at this current point in time.
Yeah, now with having James Love 1 lap down, he's asking for 10 cautions to come out for this 96 to even get onto the lead lap. Asking for a lot for this 96 machine.
Only thing he can have right now happen that would give him a shot at still being able to advance into the Final Four is if Vincent Arthur in this race finishes below 7th place. If Arthur can finish 7th or higher, he would be in and McWhirter would be out. The reason for that is because Vincent Arthur has the bonus point for a lap led here today as well. But if Vincent Arthur finishes 8th or worse, and we've seen last night Pit Road played a huge factor into a lot of finishing positions in that race. So Vincent Arthur's not out of the woods yet, but if he finishes 8th or lower, McWhirter, despite where he's running right now, would be able to advance into the Final Four. And you also brought up the fact, Sam, about the possibility of drivers maybe retiring out of the race, and those being spots that McWhirter could pick up.
Yeah, and honestly, it's most likely the drivers that are going to be falling out and not really looking like they're having a solid day. Chris Noble and James Love, both of them heavily damaged, and their cars just struggling right now to keep pace. As I'm going to check out the other cars that are running in the back, I believe, yeah, Roger Gregory has clobbered the wall as well in that 54 machine running in 11th place. So we're just going to have to keep our eyes out on these cars on the back half, if any of them have issues. And a couple of times I've been seeing Ty Cole have a couple of instances of getting loose out of 4. Ryan Strunks grazed the wall actually on his right side just slightly for the 77. And also, the most shocking thing is that one time we saw Boyd Hogan get out of shape, and something we're going to have to keep our eyes out the longer this run goes on.
Absolutely. Whoa! Ty Cole nearly losing it off of turn 4 there. I don't know if he got the wall or not. He certainly jerked the car to the left to avoid doing so. It's awfully close as he's behind the 77 of Ryan Strunk. The best battle right now on the track is going on for the 5th position, and that's Taylor Butcher Benjamin and Chad Goodisman. Butcher Benjamin got around him just a moment ago, and Goodisman wants the spot back. We are 55 laps into this race, still 170 laps remaining. We're closing possibly in on the first round of green flag pit stops, so we're going to step outside for a quick commercial break and be back here hopefully for those pit stops as you're watching the Veterans of Foreign War Cup Series here on the Flatout Racing Network. We're going to go FRN side by side.
Since the VFW was founded, their mission was really to look out for the veterans community, to make sure that our nation upholds its promise to really care for the service member, the veteran, and his or her family. There are several ways that the VFW fights for veterans today. The top services include disability claims.
No, you're not seeing things. Caution is out here for the first time today. It is a competition caution. No drivers involved in a wreck. And Sam, I believe you've got the information of why this caution was thrown.
Yeah, competition caution. The admins have been talking throughout the whole entire start of this race, trying to figure out how do they take on this issue of Ty McWhorter. He obviously, like you stated, he practiced, he qualified, and his internet failed him right before gridding, and that's why this 96 car was 9 laps down. The admins called this competition caution so they can get all of his laps back except for one. He'll be left 1 lap down, the rest of the field coming in for pits, and this is kind of a interesting spot because there's a lot of drivers now that are going to be trying to take waiver rounds to stay on the lead lap, led by Kevin Roy and a lot of other machines that are getting set up to get their lap backs.
As we know, every decision can be popular or unpopular depending on your position. I think a couple of drivers that were not exactly thrilled by the fact that caution came out. Joseph Piscota, who was enjoying a nice sizable lead over Boyd Hogan. Vincent Arthur, I think, also would fit that because he's trying to race his way into the Final Four. This now gives Ty McWhorter a little bit more of a glimmer of hope to be able to battle him for that final position into ISM next week. 2 drivers, however, that I think very happy about that decision. Ty McWhorter would be obviously one, and Kevin Roy at the time that caution came out was put a lap down, so he would be the lucky dog.
Yeah, and that's going to be massive for these drivers that are trying to get their laps back as they were all just going down and was looking like this was actually going to be a pretty long green flag run. The question now is the drivers that went a lap down now trying to get repairs done, like James Love, Chris Noble, and others that had heavy right side damage. How long are they going to be in the pits? And will this cause them to feel like, hey, do I want to finish out this race or do I just continue to stay where I'm at?
It's still early on in this race as well. We haven't even entered into the second third of this event, but these drivers all got pretty spread out there in the first 50-55 laps. They're all going to be bunched up again here for the first time since we went green to start this event. So do we see the aggressiveness kick up just a little bit here based on the fact that with all being closed back up again, there's positions to be gained?
Yeah, I would imagine that we're going to be seeing a lot of cars with the potential chance here of drivers making some bold moves when they can. And, with the Cup Series, I mean, the pattern that we've been seeing is usually the first caution breeds another quick caution after that, just because drivers feel like, hey, I'm quicker than you. I need to get by you now. We've already seen that I'm faster than you. Or just trying to make some bold moves to try to even just advance their position. And this is going to be an interesting place to see it as, this is such a unique situation with the Ty Cola internet issues, and virtual racing gives us this opportunity to give drivers a second chance, even when their internet fails them at times.
I want to give a special shout out to tonight's sponsor as well, Buying with Ty. You can check them out actually on Facebook on Buying with Ty. Check them out. They are a car sales Facebook page, and appreciate them sponsoring tonight's event here as we're working our first caution of the evening. It looks like the way that they came down pit road, pretty much the way that they left. Top five, not much change. Joseph Piscotto, David Santini, Boyd Hogan, Vincent Arthur, and Taylor Butcher Benjamin. I'm going to be very interested to watch this one car as well, because we saw him not only work his way up to the front with Boyd Hogan, but also past Boyd Hogan. Looks like he may have one of the better cars on the long run, but he really lost down a lot of track position by the time he got around Boyd Hogan in terms of the gap between himself and the 9th. So we'll see with Santini now on the outside of the front row if he's got anything maybe for this race lead.
Yeah, and another thing we're going to have to keep our eyes out on is due to the fact that this is an open setup league. When you're coming into the pits, you can make those adjustments to help your car on the longer run. And we saw Boyd Hogan. He really seemed like there were certain moments where his car would just step out from under him. Wonder if he's finally made those adjustments where he's good and feels confident driving forward, as the lights, I believe, are off. And we'll be going this time by pace car is off, and at least Ty McWhorter got up to 3 laps down now, and it gives him a better opportunity at this point as green flag back in the air.
Joseph Piscotto going to lead them down into turn 1. David Santini on that outer line, which he has actually seemed to like here during this first long green flag run. He will slot into second. Boyd Hogan up in front of Vincent Arthur into third. Arthur trying to battle on the top side right now in fourth. He'll cross over to the inside, onto the back bumper of Hogan, now swaps back up behind David Santini.
As Vincent Arthur made adjustments for the long run, he's been fabulous here on the first 15 laps in that 24 car, and then he starts to fade back. He can't fade back. He has to finish here in the top 4, if not the top 3, if he wants a better shot at pointing his way into the next round.
Behind him, Taylor Butcher Benjamin and Chad Gunisman rekindled the battle they had just before the caution came out. Was that Arthur in the wall?
Arthur at the 24, Vincent Arthur hard in the wall after coming out of 4. And Arthur is going to keep on moving forward, but he's lost a lot of time, and we've seen that right side damage can affect you a lot on the long run.
A lot of drivers sometimes will get the outside wall with the right rear flare and not necessarily the entire right side of the car, but you could see with the sparks there, that 24 Liberty University Chevrolet got it pretty good there into the turn 4 outside safer barrier. Still for the moment, holds down the fourth position as...
Wow. 3 wide.
Ryan Strunk says, all right, you both lose your momentum. I'm not going to lift. He drove it to the inside of Gunisman. He'll take that spot away. Not sure how Taylor Butcher Benjamin, who was all the way up in the third groove through 1 and 2, was still able to maintain his spot.
It's that momentum carrying forward. Strunk had to back down if he was going to get under both those drivers. And Gunisman, he had to woe up because he got into the 11 with too much speed, which gave the 11 the momentum and really that chance on the high side to keep moving forward. But, moving back up to the front, Piscotto under heavy pressure from the 1 of Santini, as David Santini is coming hard charging, and it's really the best move that he's going to have, as didn't win last night, but has a potential here tonight.
Mention the fact that only one driver has come up from the Rapid Fire Pizza National Series to win a Veterans of Foreign War Cup Series race, and that was Logan Helton back at Daytona. Santini trying to be the second, as he's less than a car length behind the Mountain Dew Chevrolet, heading down into turn 1. And Santini, the advantage he's got right now, he's run the inside here, but he likes to run that top line. We haven't really seen Piscotto venture off the bottom of the racetrack ever since we started.
Yeah, Piscotto just going to keep at what he's been doing and not give an opening. That car coming into the pits, that's going to be Ty McWhorter in that 96 machine, who did not come into the pits earlier under that yellow because he was trying to get as many laps back. So Ty McWhorter, he's going to go multiple laps down again due to the fact that he has to come in and take pits.
Lead change perhaps here through turns 3 and 4. Santini edges ahead off the corner. Piscotto battles back on the high side. I think he led that lap by a splitter. They continue the side-by-side battle into 1.
Yeah, on 1 and 2, the advantage is on the inside, it looks like. But Piscotty holding strong on the outside, not allowing the one of David Santini to make this pass cleanly, which with them staying side by side as long as they have, here comes Boyd Hogan in the 2.
Joseph Piscotty in his last 4 starts. Talladega, 3rd. Charlotte Roval, 3rd. Kansas, 3rd. And then Texas last week, 2nd. 4 straight top 5 finishes, but still looking for a win. Santini right there on the back bumper. They take 2 different lanes going into turn 3. And as you mentioned, lingering about a little less than half a second behind is Boyd Hogan's. I thought for a moment that Piscotty might not be clear. He was able to tuck up in front of Santini off of 4.
Right now, it's the battle of the 3 cars that are not really in a must-win scenario. Your front 2 drivers that are out, not in the playoffs anymore. Boyd Hogan has already locked his way in, winning the last 2 races and trying to sweep this round of 8 to carry the most momentum into Phoenix next week. It's going to be an interesting race for those drivers. But right now, Joseph Piscotty, David Santini, they continue to battle back and forth. Other battles that are going on in the rest of the field, battle for 9th place is going on as well with Kevin Roy and Chris Noble, it looks like, as those drivers right on top of one another.
Another battle that's brewing as well. Taylor Butcher Benjamin and Chad Gunesman for 5th. Could be a 3-man fight for the 4th position as they're both starting to reel in the 24 of Vincent Arthur. And just to update on Ty McWhirter, we saw him have to make that pit stop because he didn't come to pit lane under that caution. He started this race 9 laps down, was able to get 6 of them back there under that pacing, but due to the fact he had to come down to green flag pit stop, or under green flag run to make that pit stop, he's now 5 laps down still.
Yeah, and it was looking like possibly Ty McWhirter could get all his laps back. The admins, that was very generous of them to even let that competition come out and let Ty McWhirter get at least 4 of his laps back. But really, there wasn't enough time for this 96 machine to get all of his laps back. So right now, Ty McWhirter still hoping for a lot more cautions, as there are now a total of 4 drivers in front of him that are 1 lap down, which, again, he needs about 10 cautions if he's going to get all of his laps back.
What's incredible right now, looking at the drivers that, according to the live results, would be our final 4. You've got Boyd Hogan, who's gone to victory lane this season 14 times. The other drivers that would advance along with him, Taylor Butcher Benjamin, Chad Gunesman, Vincent Arthur, they've yet to even go to victory lane this season.
Yeah, and honestly, it's going to be difficult between all those drivers, but like you stated, the last time that we were at ISM, it was Taylor Butcher Benjamin that was the highest of all the drivers that are in the playoffs. So it would be interesting to see if this 11 car that had a very consistent regular season, didn't get a win, but was there for every race, so had a battle for the regular season championship, now has a chance to win the championship by not even having to win.
Santini gets the run to the inside of Joseph Piscotty. You saw right there, we were checking the track temperature, because you can clearly see that some clouds have started creeping into Iowa, have completely bathed the track in shadow. I was wondering if maybe that cloud cover was going to lead to some possible cooler conditions for these drivers. Cooler conditions mean more grip, and gracious, David Santini, apparently his spotter knew exactly when he was clear, tucks right up in front of Joseph Piscotty. He's going to go to the point, and I think he had a little maybe a sense of urgency making that move, because that silver number 2 is right behind them.
Yeah, Boyd Hogan, I think, at this point, has the most saved up tires compared to the 2 in front of him, just because Boyd Hogan, he's just been waiting and lingering to make these passes and letting the other drivers use up their tires. And Iowa's kind of been known as a tire killer, so it's going to be interesting to see if any of Boyd Hogan's tricks of just staying back, saving his tires, are going to help him here on this longer run, as we've been green for 23 laps now, as we are inching closer and closer to lap 100.
There's the battle for the lucky dog position going on between the 20, the 8, and the 54, all running within about half a second of each other. Ty McWhirter right in the middle of this as well in the 96. Now, he does have fresher tires, about 10 lap fresher tires than the competition around him, but he is multiple laps down to these drivers, currently 4 laps behind them. Another battle brewing is that that three-way battle for fourth place is Taylor Butcher Benjamin. A move to the inside of Vincent Arthur, got really loose, and not only a loss of momentum, but a loss of a position as Gunnisman will go around the top side.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a little bit of a slip up coming out of 4. And now the 11 has to reset, get back into his rhythm, and start trying to push forward. He knows he's faster than Gunzman, but the question is, can he get by the 24? Because every single time he's tried to go side by side, he's just bogged down and hasn't been able to make the pass. And looking like he really needs to get the momentum out of the corner and just throw it in there and hope that he can do a slide job on this 24 machine. And we'll see if Chad Gunzman has the confidence to try to just throw it in for a slide job here.
26 laps into this run as we are closing in on completing the first 100 laps of today's 225 lapper. We broke out of our commercial break when that competition caution came out. To document that, we're now going to go back to our commercial break here and go FRN side by side. We're going to keep it right here on this three-way battle for fourth, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Since the VFW was founded, their mission was really to look out for the veterans community, to make sure that our nation upholds its promise to really care for the service member, the veteran, and his or her family. There are several ways that the VFW fights for veterans today. The top services include disability claims assistance, advocacy on Capitol Hill and with the Department of Veterans Affairs. We also offer scholarship opportunities, and then also volunteerism. For me personally, when I came back from Iraq, my life experience was drastically different from those around me, and the veterans of foreign wars really spoke to me. The reason I would encourage veterans who have served overseas today to join.
Maybe we should stop going to commercial break. Second caution.
It wasn't Chris Noble. It was another competition caution.
So competition caution out again. Undoubtedly this to try and help the 96th of Ty McWhirter. Not too long after David Santini had taken the race lead away from Joseph Piscota. So second caution of the day. I have to wonder too, because in last night's race, we saw drivers with varying different pit strategies and whatnot. We know that a lot of drivers were able to make it about 70 to 80 laps on a tank of fuel. I think the longest run these drivers have been on so far is about 55 laps. So we've not been able to get the full extent of an idea of how far these guys can go on a tank of fuel as well as the tires underneath them. So I'm almost wondering about, does this mix up strategy here heading into the second half of the race?
Well, we know everyone took tires on that last stop. We know that our front drivers that are on the lead lap of our 9 drivers, they're going to be most likely taking tires once again, which is going to be leaving everyone with one more set to work with, I believe. But, man, this is interesting to see, mainly because this is a competition caution. It's now throwing a wrench to where the drivers can split this in half. But now it's the fact of, now everyone's going to be trying to push it as far as they can go because they don't know when an actual caution is going to come out, because we haven't had that yet. We've had 2 competition cautions trying to get Ty McWhirter his laps back. But the question is, at this point, they're giving Ty McWhirter his laps back. Chris Noble believe he'll be the car with the most laps down. Is he still in the pits trying to get repairs done? As that A car has even more damage on the right side.
Yeah, it was an unscheduled stop for Chris Noble coming down, as you said, to repair that damage when the caution came out, which is why we thought coming back from break that he might have been the reason for this yellow flag being thrown, but obviously that's not the case. Another thing as well that Ty McWhirter has to bear in mind, yeah, he wants to get those laps back, but at the same time, we saw what happened to him when he was getting laps back under the last caution. He didn't come down pit road, so he's going to have to make sure that he comes down pit road here under this pacing period as well. So the question is, how many laps can he get back, make a pit stop, and be up there with the field when they go back green?
Right now, he's going to be 3 laps down, and He has to stop at 1 lap down, I believe. I believe that is the call from the admin. So he just has to go around these guys 2 more times and come into the pits. But like you said, how much time is left? They still haven't stacked up yet, so there's still time to make all these rounds. But I don't know if there's enough time for him to get in the pits, I think.
I mean, the good news, I guess, is the fact that he is, on now his 23rd lap on tires. Before, when he went around and was getting his laps back, I think he had about 45 to 50 laps on his tires. So he's not at as much of a deficit to the other drivers as he was when we went back green on the first restart.
Yeah, and the drivers are kind of voicing their frustration, because this does throw a wrench for the drivers that were thinking, hey, I could stretch this out, make 1 pit stop, and have an extra set to work with at the very end. Now everyone has to use their final set here, and it's going to put a wrench in a lot of drivers' back pockets, because they're now going to be stuck with whoever stretches the longest on this pit stop. I mean, on this green flag run. If we stay green, they're going to have to now hope that they can make it. The furthest they can go with about 40 to 50 laps to go, possibly. As Ty McWhorter goes again to try to get his lap back, he's officially now 1 lap down, and he's 1 lap down with Roger Gregory, James Love. But the question is, will the admins make Ty McWhorter on the green lap? I mean, on the lead lap here.
Well, the thing of it is, looking at it right now, in terms of the question you were just asking, I mean, it's going to be about, 130 laps to go or so?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you split it right in half, you're talking about 65 to 70 laps, which is right around what we saw them be able to make in last night's Rapid Fire Pizza National Series race. So, yeah, that I think would be right on par. They've got that 1 final set. Why not split this possible long run in half?
Ty McWhorter, they are going to gift him all of his laps back. He's going to be back on the lead lap. This is now going to put a lot of pressure on Vincent Arthur now, because with Ty McWhorter on the lead lap, he was 3rd in points with a 7-point window over the 24 machine. And with him on the lead lap now, and he's been looking quick, this could be making it where Vincent Arthur is possibly now just having to try to get a top 3 finish if he wants a chance.
Maybe even in a must-win situation. I mean, I haven't really been taking a whole lot of notice of Ty McWhorter. I think he went around and got 1 lap too many right there. But regardless, we'll let the admins figure that out. But I haven't really been watching what his pace has been in relation to all the other drivers on track, just because he's been so many laps down and we didn't know if he was going to get back into the title picture or not. I would have to assume that he's got the pace to get himself up there at least into maybe the top 7, top 8. And so for Vincent Arthur, I think right now it has transitioned from just finishing up in the top 5. I think that 24 car is now in a must-win situation.
Yeah, so the admins accidentally gave him too many of his laps back, and actually I think he almost has to lap the whole entire field. So things are going to be a little bit interesting here as the admins are trying to get this figured out. But man, drivers trying to figure everything out, and Ty McWhorter coming into the pits. Think things should be fixed now, but we'll see if everyone is in the right positions.
Wondering if maybe that could have been on purpose, have him get up there ahead of the leaders, be able to come down pit road, and then be caught up to these guys when they go back green. The only thing that's going to have to maybe have a little bit of an edit done on it is Ty McWhorter ended up leading that lap. Vincent Arthur led a lap earlier because he was the pole sitter. With McWhorter not legitimately leading that lap, that would cancel out the bonus point that Vincent Arthur got earlier on. So, I mean, hopefully that bonus point that Ty McWhorter would get right there would actually be rescinded.
Honestly, it's going to be hard to see. The admin's really going to have to look over this, but I think for us right now, unofficially, we're going to have to mark that as a lap led. But the admins most likely will be removing it, but like we said, we'll unofficially give that point to the 96 machine.
So I think we should be getting the 1 green signal this time around. And if you're just joining us, Ty McWhorter end up having some connection issues. A driver that is battling to try and get into the championship for next week at ISM Raceway. We've had 2 competition cautions thrown by admins to be able to get McWhirter back on the lead lap. This is the 2nd caution in an attempt to do so. They have finally been able to get him back onto the lead lap so he can start making forward progress. But aside from these 2 cautions, things have been pretty clean. We've seen a little contact, but nothing really overly aggressive. We've had some nice long green flag runs, which is why we had most of these drivers, I think, come down pit road here, take on that set of tires, and leave just one that they're going to take probably halfway between this final run.
Yeah, and exciting to see as believe that just Piscota in the 9 car leading this race at the moment would have the most laps led at this moment. But David Santini finally has got up front, has a chance to steal that away if this 1 car can lead a couple more laps as we are now green.
Santini was actually the race leader when that caution came out, so he had control of the restart and will lead them down into turn 3. Battle right now is going to be around the 3rd position. That's teammates. Chad Gunisman in the red 22, Boyd Hogan in the silver number 2. Gunisman powers around the outside line, moving up into the podium.
I believe Gunisman has slight right side damage after scrubbing the wall back around lap 40. And has been able to get the repairs done, able to keep on moving forward. Vincent Arthur in 5th place, but Ryan Strunk, he was up in that 6th place position, got a little loose coming out of 2 about a lap or so, and now that 77 drops back to 7th place, and everyone else starting to single file up.
Talked about the pressure on Vincent Arthur now with Ty McWhirter being back on the lead lap, but that actually ramps up the pressure as well for Chad Gunisman, because Gunisman came into this race 4th in the championship points. If Vincent Arthur is able to get up there and he's able to win this race with Gunisman in relation to Ty McWhirter, Gunisman could find himself eliminated from advancing into ISM.
I mean, I think where they're running right now, yeah, I mean, it's going to be close between those drivers. But I think with that lap led for Ty McWhirter, that would help him so much here with the battle between Gunisman as well for the battle there with Vincent Arthur.
There's McWhirter trying to make forward progress. Restart, I should say, in 11th. Last car in the lead lap. He's just gotten around Chris Hansen to move up into the top 10 for the first time here tonight. This is a driver that was qualified to start from the outside of the front row, but we've already documented the circumstances that happened in the early stages of this race. Next driver he's looking at right up there is that 31 of Kevin Roy. That's 9th place, and also Ty Cole, 8th place, just ahead of him.
Yeah, I mean, based off of practice and also based off of qualifying, Ty McWhirter was not one of the most fastest cars out here. Had probably around a top 10 to a top 8 car. Looking to just have a good day at this point. With him running in the top 10, though, this is fabulous for this 96 team. He was looking for just a decent day. And where he's running now, I believe that would still keep him in the top 4. I mean, it's been crazy for this 96 team that came in, had internet issues, went 9 laps down. Admins decided that he should get those laps back and had 2 competition cautions. Oh no! The 31 of Kevin Roy absolutely destroys the outside wall coming out of 4. And that's another position that goes to Ty McWhirter.
Well, you can see the damages even on the nose of that Caterpillar Chevrolet. He hit it so hard, I would have to assume that impact was more than likely all with the right front of that Caterpillar Chevrolet. So as Kevin Roy drops back to the 11th position, we jump back up here to the front where David Santini, he's got the race lead, but he hasn't really been able to pull away from Joseph Piscota and Boyd Hogan. I don't know if he's pushing it or not. That car almost went up and brushed the wall off of turn 2 again.
I don't think their top 3 are really pushing it. They're not pulling away from Chad Gunisman nor Vincent Arthur like they did last time. It was around this type of window when we started seeing our top 3 just completely gap themselves from the rest of the field. With them lingering back, I think everyone's thinking, save our tires until we have to come into the pits. So I think at this point, it's save until you have to pit for fuel and tires.
14 drivers took the green to start this race. Right now, all 14 are currently still scored in the race, despite the fact that Chris Noble still sits on pit road getting damage repaired. He's currently scored 21 laps down. We've got 11 drivers on the lead lap. James Love a lap down in 12th. Roger Gregory a lap down in 13th. As this battle for the second position, it is closing up. Boyd Hogan is on the charge, and Joseph Piscota is next on his hit list.
As these drivers are just continuing to run forward, and they're going to just keep on running as hard as they can at the moment. And point situation really was in scrambles entering this beginning a couple of laps of this race, and now things are completely on top of their heads. Now we really don't know who will be making it in, with Ty McWhorter now racing up front and being in the top 10 right now.
Unscheduled stop for Roger Gregory in the 54, and he has now had his Rick Ware Racing team push him back behind the wall. So it looks like he will finish either in 13th or 14th, dependent on if Chris Noble can get back out there. And, you mentioned about the fact that these drivers right now trying to ask everything possible of their race cars. We are about halfway home in this race. These drivers right now, most of them, if they are adopting the split this race in half, they're looking somewhere in the vicinity of about 70 laps to go, about 45 laps from now.
Yeah, and really these drivers, it's all about keep your tires, keep your cool, and just try to be the last car to pit so you have the advantage with tires. As a driver has officially DNF'd from this race. Roger Gregory is out in that 54 machine.
Keep your tires, keep your cool. If you're Vincent Arthur, who was looking like he was going to easily advance into the Final Four because of the problems that Ty McWhorter had, now McWhorter is back on the lead lap. How in the world do you keep your cool, knowing that now you might technically be in a must-win situation, when just moments ago it was looking like you had a golden ticket into the Final Four?
It's so hard. I mean, right now it's all about really being that last car with the freshest tires so you can have that advantage over everyone else. But it also is going to be kind of a limbo game, because if you see someone pit and they're going to be within 3 laps whenever you're thinking about pitting, you might think about pitting right when they do so you don't lose too much time on those drivers, but it's going to be close here at the end.
Ty McWhorter is now up to 9th place. So he currently, according to where everybody is running on track, would be back in a Final Four position. And I almost think if you're Vincent Arthur now, we were comparing Vincent Arthur to Ty McWhorter just because of the fact McWhorter was not in the lead lap. I think if you're Vincent Arthur now, instead of the winning you're in scenario, if you're looking points-wise, you got to maybe switch gears, no longer focus on the 96, and kind of gauge yourself to the 22 of Chad Gunnisman, because those two came into this race 3-point separation for that 4th position in the standings.
Yeah, and the hardest thing is that Vincent Arthur is still within a position and behind the 22 machine, so it's not looking good for Vincent Arthur, and kind of in a similar situation of what we saw that happened to Joseph Piscota earlier in the playoffs, where a driver had the pace, was looking good, but just because of not having those bonus points, having those those bonus points, playoff bonus points, not really having that advantage to continue and be up front, and points-wise, just already in a hole at the start.
David Santini in that number 1 machine looking to finish position number 1. Now that car has been to victory lane this season, courtesy of Rocky Boyd taking the checkered flag at Bristol. So Santini looking to put that Monster Energy Chevrolet in victory lane for the 2nd time this season in the Veterans of Four More Cup Series.
Yeah, and Rocky Boyd, I mean, trying his best at the moment, and it's going to be a good run.
Fall back here, and there's a battle for 8th. Ty McWhorter continuing to try and pick his way up through the field. Ty Cole in the 34. The driver that he's trying to take the position away from. Looks like the 96 might be a little bit better on corner entry into the middle. Ty Cole a little bit better on exit, as 96 can't quite rotate the center. Now he'll get to the inside of Ty Cole, who drifted up just the least little bit. You notice that Ty Cole not only running the Halloween scheme here tonight, but also with the pink numbers on the side, also supporting the Breast Cancer Awareness Month here of October. This, of course, being the last month of October, and so it's the last month, or the last day as well, that we're going to be having our Breast Cancer Awareness Foundation fundraiser. If you would like to head on over and contribute to the donation, link is down in the description below. It's the final night here, Sam, that we're going to be having the specialty pink ticker for the NR and iRacing side.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a great month so far, being able to talk about breast cancer awareness. October is well known for it. Rocking the pink, show your awareness, and also donating for a great cause, trying to get the research to really battle a terrible disease and trying to beat cancer the best that we can.
Ryan Strunk in the 77, continuing to run consistently here today. Has not fallen outside of the top 7 really all day long. But he's still coming into this race technically in a must-win situation, was 8 points back from 4th in the standings, and a lot of the drivers that he was around are running either just ahead or just behind him. McWhorter back there in 8th, Butcher Benjamin, Arthur Gundesman ahead of him 4th through 6th. The toughest thing, I think, for these playoff contenders especially is the fact if they dig themselves into deep holes in the first 1 or 2 races of the round, there's not really a high enough car count for them to be able to make up that deficit outside of coming in basically in a must-win situation.
Yeah, and especially with throughout this race, we're going to be losing more and more drivers. I mean, Chris Noble's still getting repairs done on that 8 machine. He's been in there for almost 20 minutes now. And at the moment, 38 laps down is for the 8 machine. So it's kind of not looking good for Ryan Strunk. And as well as Strunk being ran down here by Ty McWhorter, with him moving up to 8th place, I believe this technically puts him in a decent spot where I don't think the drivers of Vincent Arthur can make a pass on him points-wise, nor can Chad Goonsman.
Ooh, David Santini's leading this race, and he just brushed the wall of 2. And yeah, it's interesting, too, because if we didn't have those competition cautions come out, and let's say Ty McWhorter was still -9, he would have passed Chris Noble for 13th. He would have passed Roger Gregory to move up to 12th. And right now, with Vincent Arthur running in 5th, the scenario between the two of them would have been Arthur advantaged by 1 point. So if we had one more DNF between now and the end of the race, the two of them would have probably found themselves being tied for that final 4th position.
Yeah, and we got some clarification about the rules here in the Veteran Foreign Wars Cup Series. It's the fact that if a driver is deemed that they've got an error from the iRacing system and they feel like, hey, that's not a driver's fault and the reason why they had an issue, the admins will make the call for a competition caution to help to try to fix that issue for the drivers. And this is still under investigation if this is warranted or not. But really, it's going to be an ongoing thing to see, even by the end of this race, if Ty McWhorter, where he's going to finish, really, because the admins still are trying to discuss if this 96 car, if it was deemed an iRacing issue or if it was a personal issue.
Yeah, I mean, if it was an iRacing issue, I know that obviously being a broadcaster, my opinion is not going to hold that much weight in the decision, but just the fact that he was out there practicing, he was out there and laid down a qualifying lap, I don't really think that a driver would personally choose to put themselves in a scenario where they would have themselves.
He got loose out of 4, and that 2 machine somehow did not hit the inside wall, but went through the grass. Went for a really rough ride. But now Boyd Hogan went from running in 3rd place down to 5th.
Nice save there, but of course already locked into the final 4. He can afford a bad day and some slip-ups at Iowa. But going back quickly just to the Ty McWhorter situation, you know, I don't necessarily know if a driver would decide to actually put themselves in that kind of a position to start this race multiple laps down, knowing that they're battling for a spot into the championship 4 at ISM, not knowing that there may be a guarantee or not a guarantee that they're going to get those laps back.
I mean, still, we've seen drivers that being multiple laps down, a lot of cars can have issues, and you can honestly find yourself with a top 10 finish, even if you're starting from the grid and being 9 laps down off the start. So really, it's all about just having that adversity to continue pushing on, even if you don't have the best start.
Absolutely. I mean, where was it? I believe it might have been Bristol, where we ended up having, I think it was all but the top two finish a lap down, and yet you still, there was a third place finish, there was a fourth place finish, there was a fifth place finish. It doesn't matter how many laps down you are, your finishing position is your finishing position. If you finish up inside the top five laps down, hey, you still get the points for finishing fifth place.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think of Las Vegas, right? I mean, we only had 7 cars on the lead lap then, and all 7 of them were caught up in an incident that allowed Ty McWhorter to even move on to the next round in that 96 machine. So a lot of luck has to be thrown in, as drivers right now being pretty spaced out from everyone else. Some of the closest action on track is that battle for 4th place, as Boyd Hogan's trying to run down the 24 Vincent Arthur.
Yeah, you mentioned about him having that slip up there, and we obviously, unfortunately, we're not able to get our cameras back on there during Boyd Hogan's issue going through 1 and 2. You got a better look at it there, Sam. Would you say it was a little bit of a mishap there that's going to hurt him in terms of tire wear, where it would have affected the warmth in his tires?
I mean, it's going to hurt a little bit. He did slide coming out of 4, and then going through the grass, it's going to hurt his suspension just because the grass is about 2 to 3 inches higher than the ground, and just because of the elements here in the virtual side of things, that's going to launch you going up and down, adding a little bit of damage to the car. But right now, Boyd Hogan, he's still running good, but this is the 3rd time I've seen Boyd Hogan have a slip up in that 2 car coming out of 2 and now 2 times out of 4. So obviously there is some wiggle, and he wiggles once again coming out of 4. So Boyd Hogan's car, not the most stable that it's been all season long.
You can see there, as we were on board with him, just how hard he turned that car to the left. That's why the wiggle happened there. And again, I mean, just see the nose. It doesn't point straight coming off the corner. It turns left and then overcorrects back to the right. That is all the signs of a loose race car. And the tough thing for these drivers that have their cars set up loose for not only the early portion of this race, but the long portion of this race, is as the run goes on, those tires are going to continue to wear away, especially those rear tires. There's going to be no grip to be able to rely on corner exits. So that loose sensation is going to get worse and worse.
Another driver has officially DNF'd. Chris Noble in the 8 car that was at the time 48 laps down, has officially parked it for the day. So we have now 2 DNF drivers, and now we continue on with officially 12 drivers on track, but only 10 left on the lead lap.
Battle for 4th has now closed up to 3 car lengths. Now 2, now 1, as Hogan down on the bottom, trying to get to the inside of Vincent Arthur, swings up behind him off of turn 4. He'll try again down here in 1 and 2. With Arthur getting around Boyd Hogan for position, that was important for him in terms of his trying to get up to the front in the must-win situation. The bad news for him, though, is that Chad Gunnisman now, the driver he's trying to beat by what would now be, I think, 3 positions, he was another driver that got around Boyd Hogan when he made his mistake. And now, look at this. Hogan gets loose on the bottom. Arthur gets the wall on the top.
Yeah, I mean, both drivers struggling with both their own issues right now. I mean, we've seen Vincent Arthur scrub that outside wall. Boyd Hogan as well as scrub the outside wall, but getting looser and looser as the run goes on. And I think the main thing for Boyd Hogan here is I think he might have made some adjustments under pit road this last time by thinking that he was going to help him. I think he might have crossed the line just a little bit too far on trying to get his car loose enough on the later stages of a run. And that's why we're starting to see the 2 just get a little bit out of shape. I mean, he's still quick right now, running what would be the fastest car 3rd on back, but still, look, you got to keep your eyes out on a driver that's moving up the field quick. Ty McWhorter right now running probably the fastest car right now in the top 3 now. He's taking that away from Boyd Hogan.
Vincent Arthur with a huge moment there, and now Hogan drives to his back bumper coming out of turn 2. Oh, wow, shoved him down the back straightaway.
Yeah, and honestly, I think Boyd Hogan's just going to be trying to make any moves that he can, but he's got to be careful. I mean, Vincent Arthur still has a very slim chance of making it in the next round. You don't want to wreck out another driver that's in competition here, trying to get into the Final 4.
Oh, man, Hogan tried the inside there through 1 and 2. Ekcar stepped out on him through the center of the corner. Another save, but loses more ground once again to the 24 car. looking at the laps as they run right now, these drivers, I think their target lap is about 70 laps. But the question is it 70 laps into this run, or is it with 70 laps to go? In about 20 laps time, there'll be 70 laps into this run, but we're only 11, now 10 laps away from 70 laps to go. So if you're a driver that is trying to maybe be in a must-win situation here, like Vincent Arthur, like Ryan Strunk, do you adapt the strategy of stretching as far as you can go, or do you adapt the strategy of coming to pit road right when that window opens and try and leapfrog some other drivers with the fresh tires?
If you're in the top, if you're one of the top two drivers of Santini and Piscotto, you are pushing it all the way to the end. You go empty with your fuel, and you make sure you have the freshest tires at the end, so both of you guys are battling it out for that. If you're everyone else behind, though, you might be thinking about pitting possibly 10 to 15 laps before the rest of the field, but right now, this battle for fourth place, they've got a lap car in the way.
And look at this, James Love kind of moved low a little bit here. Held up Boyd Hogan for a brief moment, trying to help his teammate out in this battle for the fourth position, but Hogan just cannot hold the bottom. That car steps out on a corner exit every single time, it seems.
Yeah, and as we're seeing this battle for fourth place, we're soon to see a battle here for sixth place as Ty McWhorter about to try to get by the 11 of Butcher Benjamin.
Kind of ironic if you think about it, because Taylor Butcher Benjamin, all season long, we've talked about him being Mr. Consistency, very slow and methodical and working his way to the front. That's kind of what Ty McWhorter has done since he ended up getting back on the lead lap after the second competition caution. He hasn't flown up through the field after restarting back in 11th. It's taken him about 50 laps to work his way from 11th now to this battle for 6th.
Yeah, but I mean, he's running about a tenth to 2/10 faster than the rest of the drivers he's in front of. I mean, right now, Butcher Benjamin, as well as Ty McWhorter, they're actually gaining on that battle for fourth place between Boyd Hogan and Vincent Arthur, as Arthur is finally getting passed by Boyd Hogan, and Hogan now, he'll be trying to charge back and trying to run down Chad Gunsman, but the difference between those drivers is almost 7 seconds.
Yeah, Boyd Hogan lost a lot of ground in having to battle with Vincent Arthur, as well as his couple of slip-ups there. Not only, as you said, 7 seconds behind Chad Gunsman, but 13.5 seconds behind the battle for the lead between David Santini and Joseph Piscotto, that right now is a little more than 0.3 of a second. We can actually jump up to that battle in just a moment here, as it looks like the battle for the 6th position may be over out of turn 4. Ty McWhorter trying to swing around the outside, and he will clear for the spot. So move McWhorter up to 6th position. That's up at the front, though. Piscotto running right down there on the bottom again, and he's making up some really good ground, especially through the first half of the corners.
Yeah, in that last lap, Piscotto ran about a tenth faster than David Santini, and, you know, this is the longest that we've had a green flag run go for these drivers, and now it's time to see who's going to be the driver to early pit, as Piscotto trying to use that lap car of Ty Cole as a pick, and right now it's looking solid for that 9 car, but just not close enough to that rear spoiler.
What he needed to do right there was get at least to the inside of the left rear of the one of David Santini to kind of pin him up there behind Ty Cole. Couldn't quite do it, but he is there. He is closing, and I'd have to wonder about this, of how much Santini was saving, because with the charge that Joseph Piscotto is putting out right now, you have to think that he was riding, conserving his tires, and that's pretty impressive, the fact that he was able to maintain at least a half a second gap between himself and David Santini while saving at the same time.
Yeah, it's incredible the way that these drivers are going to be trying to duke it out between these drivers. And I mean, with the way that we're seeing Santini and Piscotto running, I mean, they're running so much faster than the rest of the field at this moment, and I think that's just due to the fact of the way that they save tires for the first about 20 to 25 laps. They really backed it down, waited with patience, and really started picking up the pace the longer this run goes on. And now you're starting to see the difference of the long runs here, as Piscotto finally be able to get under the 1 again, and we'll see if he can finish this pass now, as he's got Ryan Strunk as that pick.
We'll stay alongside here on the front straightaway. Strunk in the 77. Let's see where he goes. He's going to go all the way up to the 3rd group. Let these two continue to battle. And I almost wondered how much David Santini was looking in his rearview mirror than out the windshield the last time out of turn 2, because I think he may have brushed the wall again.
Now he's getting closer and closer, it looks like. Not comfortable in that middle to third lane is the one car. Is right now, Piscota, he just doesn't have enough momentum to try to make that slide job move. And if anything, you might want to think about backing it down, save your tires, let the one car use them up, and then try to make a charge here. Coming to the last couple of laps before you have to think about pitting here.
We're just about to the mark here. About 3 laps away from going 70 laps into this run. We already have crossed the threshold of 70 laps to go, now 67. These two continue to battle for this position, and they have a little bit of a luxury of being able to do so. Another 7 seconds before you get back to third place Chad Gunisman, who not only has that time deficit between himself and the top 2, but has a little bit of traffic he would have to deal with as well before he could get up to those top 2.
Yeah, and basing off of what we saw last night, which I believe these drivers can go longer than that distance, is we saw the Xfinity cars last night in the National Series go about 85 laps was the longest that they could go. And I think these drivers possibly might be able to push it to about 90 laps on the fuel run. Question is, how well are these tires going to last, as we still have not seen a green flag pit stop. The question is, when will we see this next pit stop, as all these drivers only have one set left to work with?
If you're Boyd Hogan, you've won the last 2 races, you're trying to sweep this round of 8. Maybe you might be that driver that kind of is outside of the box and you're thinking you come down pit road early and take advantage of fresher tires, short pit, and leapfrog everybody else, perhaps?
You might be thinking about that, but I think right now Boyd Hogan's thinking about being the last car to pit. I mean, yes, he's had his issues, and right now, I mean, we've seen our leaders duking it back and forth. Doing the one in the 99, Ty McWhorter bringing Butcher Benjamin with them to possibly make a pass here on Vincent Arthur for 5th place.
Ty Cole making a pit stop here, so he's pitting right around when the fuel window opens. As we drop back, as you said, to this 3-way battle for 5th place. Ty McWhorter trying to reel in Vincent Arthur. These are 2 drivers that back at the beginning stages of this race, we were kind of wondering if these were the 2 that were going to decide that final playoff position. But now with McWhorter in the 6th position, McWhorter currently sitting pretty to advance to ISM to battle for that championship. It's now come down between Vincent Arthur and Chad Gunisman, and I just kind of get that feeling based off of what we saw in last night's race here at Iowa. Pit road played a huge factor, and you almost wonder if pit road here, when these drivers come down pit lane, is that going to be the deciding factor between the 22 and the 24 as to who's going to be advancing into the championship battle next week?
I mean, right now, right, Vincent Arthur needs Chad Gunisman to fall all the way down at the moment to probably around 9th place. Vincent Arthur needs to move up to 4th or 3rd. But that is a lot to ask for. As Gunisman's been doing a great job, only 7 seconds off of our leaders, and he's been consistently staying around that marker, still running about a 10th to even less than a 10th off of what our leaders are running. So Chad Gunisman, I mean, on the longer run, very consistent car. It's just on the shorter runs, it looks like the 1 in the 9 a lot faster than the 22.
One thing we'll have to remember in our calculations as well, the fact that Vincent Arthur has a bonus point for a lap led, Chad Gunisman does not. So Vincent Arthur only has to finish 3 positions ahead of the 22 to advance into the final 4. Right now we've got 7 drivers on the lead lap, and so if we're speculating, just as an example, if Chad Gunisman were to get a speeding penalty and be running last car on the lead lap in 7th, with where Arthur is running right now, it would be, I believe, Chad Gunisman by 1 point that would have the final 4 positions. So, it's basically a situation right now where Vincent Arthur has to do 2 things. 1, has to hope Chad Gunisman has a slow pit stop or a penalty, and 2, has to gain maybe 1 or 2 positions to make sure that he's safe to advance to the final 4 when he makes his pit stop.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot that these drivers are dealing with. This side-by-side action once again for the lead.
Oh!
Ooh, he saved it. Ooh, that looked almost worse than it could have been.
I was going to mention the fact that Piscota's been one of the drivers down the inside line that's looked actually rather stable coming off the corner on the bottom. So apparently that is not the case, though, as he and David Santini have had a spirited battle for the last 20 to 25 laps. But just like that, that slip-up takes what was a side-by-side battle and puts a full second of separation between the two. We've had a couple more drivers make some pit stops here. Kevin Roy in the 31 now coming to the attention of his crew. Chris Hansen was down pit road a couple of laps ago. He still actually sits in his pit stall in that Stanley Camry.
Yeah, and right now just trying to get repairs done for that 20 machine and the 31 of Kevin Roy in pits. And we're waiting to see when other drivers will think about coming into pit road. And Piscota, he's still going to be pushing it as far as they can. I believe the drivers are going to have to pit here in the next 5 laps to, with how long that pace lap was, possibly these drivers could go to about maybe 85 to 88, maybe even 90 laps or so. These drivers really pushing it as far as they can, making sure they've got the best tires when the time comes.
Saw that battling for 5th, 6th, and 7th. Well, it's all taking place on the same straightaway as race leader David Santini. So those drivers, Arthur, McWhirter, and Benjamin, right now about maybe 3/4 of a lap down to the 1 machine. And we have to remind everybody as well here, Sam, you touched on it earlier. These drivers started this race with only 4 sets of tires. The tires that they started the race on, they all came to pit road under the 2 competition cautions that they had. So they're coming to pit road here when eventually they make that pit stop for their final set of tires. If we end up having, let's say, a late race restart, the most they can do is come down, maybe take on a little bit of fuel. There will be no more Goodyears waiting for them in pit road.
Yeah, and these drivers are going to continue to push as hard as they can, but like I've stated, it's all about making sure you are the last car to come into the pit road. If you are one of the front 2 drivers, you are battling one another to see who comes in the pits, because once the other car comes in, you're going to come in the next lap to make sure, or if they come in way earlier than you imagine, stay out there, try to make sure that they run their tires down so you can grunt them back for the final couple of laps.
I just want to point this out, even though it has no bearing currently with Ty McWhirter now back in the lead lap, but if McWhirter were still in the situation he were in back at the beginning stages of this race, he would have at this point been able to work his way up to 11th position, and with Vincent Arthur running in 5th, the 2 of them would have been separated by 1 point. Advantage would have gone to Ty McWhirter.
Yeah, and honestly, it would have been so massive to see Vincent Arthur if he could have been able to hold off Boyd Hogan after Boyd Hogan's mishaps that he's been having. But, some of these drivers wishing they were having some better days. His first car in the pits out of our top 10, it's going to be the 11 of Taylor Butcher Benjamin.
Hitting with 50 laps to go is Taylor Butcher Benjamin, coming down for his final set of tires. He has been up inside the top 7 all race long, which is exactly what he needed to do, with a 5-point cushion between himself and the cut line. So no doubt, barring anything happening here in these final 50 laps, that FedEx Toyota Camry will be joining Boyd Hogan in the championship battle next week at ISM. Ty McWhirter back in the lead lap. Looks like he will also be there as well. The question mark now is between Chad Gunnisman and Vincent Arthur, who are currently separated by 3 points. Now actually 2 points if you count in the lap-led bonus point Arthur got earlier on tonight. Which of those 2 is going to be the one to get that 4th and final championship for slot?
Ryan Strunk, also another driver that just came into the pits, and believe the next couple of drivers we're probably going to be seeing are front runners. Is another driver into the pits. It's going to be James Love back in 11th place, 4 laps down.
David Santini has put 7 cars off the lead lap, and he's about to put a couple more off the lead lap as well. It's Ty McWhirter and Vincent Arthur battling for 5th, and I think McWhirter, well, nope, I thought he was driving low, maybe coming to pit lane, but instead he's actually yielding the top side to David Santini. We'll tuck in line behind the 1 machine. We'll see what Vincent Arthur is going to do with the race leader on his back bumper.
Confirmation that lap that was led by Ty McWhirter under yellow does not count, has been removed. So that bonus point that Vincent Arthur has over the 96 is still there. But man, it is a rough battle we're going to be seeing here.
All right, here we go, Sam. Second place, Joseph Piscota on pit lane. 1 lap later, David Santini on pit road.
Yeah, I mean, that was the mind games. It was going to be whoever pitted. You had to pit right after that. And now we got Chad Goonsman sticking out a little bit longer, trying to get that advantage of having the freshest tires over our other drivers that have already pitted. You've also got Boyd Hogan, who has stayed out and coming into the pits. Ty McWhorter.
But this is huge. I think this is a great call by Chad Gunisman, because this now counters the lap-led bonus point that Vincent Arthur had over him. Instead of now Vincent Arthur finishing 3 positions ahead of Chad Gunisman has now made it that Vincent Arthur would have to finish 4 positions ahead of him in order to take that final 4 position in the championship battle next week. So I love that call there, as now he'll bring his 22 to pit road.
And now you got Boyd Hogan, who's going to be staying out. Most likely he'll be coming in this time by. Nope, the 2 car stays out. And we'll also keep an eye out on the 24, Vincent Arthur. If he'll be coming in this time by, no, he'll stay out again. So interesting to see 2 cars that are staying out. It's going to be Vincent Arthur and Boyd Hogan.
So the only 2 that we are waiting on to come down pit road for what will be their final pit stop of the day. Closing in on 40 laps to go here. And as things are scored currently, Joseph Piscota came down pit road 1 lap earlier than David Santini. He's now about 4 car lengths ahead of the 1 machine, so everything cycles around. He would be the race leader. However, Santini's trying to make sure that he's not going to cycle around to be the race leader. He just closed up about a car length and a half there, just through 3 and 4 alone.
Yeah, and Santini, he is going to be trying his best to run down this 9 machine, but Piscota's actually kind of backed down his pace. But Santini, at that last lap, was the fastest lap put down on any of the drivers so far. This 1 car's coming, and he's going, oh! Ty Cole! Oh my goodness!
Oh, we talk about stuck between a rock and a hard place. Ty Cole was stuck between an energy drink and a soda.
I don't think you could have fit. I mean, there was contact there between the 1 and the 9, as well as the 34. Everyone was hit by Ty Cole there, and Cole had nowhere to go. I mean, he could have tried to duck low, but there was such a huge closing rate between the 9 and the 1 that there was nowhere for him to place his car. As Santini, I mean, I would imagine the 3 of those cars are shocked they got out of that cleanly.
But I guarantee you that I don't think the 9 nor the 1 let off the throttle. I think they were pedal to the metal there and trying to make sure that they didn't lose any momentum, because again, the 9 and the 1, they've got nothing to lose here tonight. A checkered flag's on the line for them, but not a championship, not an opportunity to advance into the Final 4. Piscota was eliminated out in the round of 12. Santini is up here running for experience, a Rapid Fire Pizza regular that's driving up here in the Cup Series tonight. So, I mean, both of these drivers, their goal is just to go out there and win. They're bringing home the trophy, or they're bringing home the steering wheel as far as they're concerned.
Santini is just getting irritated at this point. Piscota's just been fabulous at using the lap cars as a pick every single opportunity he has, just trying to force the 1 car on the outside. Then you just push his car up, so he has nowhere to go as Vincent Arthur comes into the pits in front of the 9, makes him slow down, and now David Santini to the lead.
That was a teammate right there in front of Piscota that had him have to check up off of turn 4 and lose the race lead. Well, not the race lead yet, that's second, but will be the race lead to David Santini. Arthur going to come down and make his final pit stop of the day with 36 laps to go.
I think right now Boyd Hogan is just staying out as long as he can and hoping for a caution to come out, because then he'll have the freshest tires and the biggest advantage on the rest of the field.
Well, I hate to burst his bubble, but I'm not necessarily certain we are going to see a caution come out here. Field is quite spread out, as Santini now having to deal with some traffic. Here comes the 9 back down to the inside line. Got a little bit of help there from his teammate James Love. Had to push up off the corner and is still a car length off the back bumper of David Santini.
Yeah, continues to push forward. Now Chad Goonsman unlapping himself the hard way past Boyd Hogan, and we'll see if the 11 can do that here soon. As they're all trying to race down and trying to get to Boyd Hogan and make this pass. As side by side for second place, the 1 of David Santini and the 9 of Joseph Piscota, still side by side, and it's going to go to Piscota.
It looks like Taylor Butcher Benjamin in the 11. I'm trying to figure out. Woo! Trying to figure out
Oh,
the
boy.
scoring here. Yeah, I believe that Taylor Butcher Benjamin is actually a lap down to Boyd Hogan. If Hogan had pit, then it would have been Benjamin back in the lead lap, but now with the 1 and the 9 getting around him, he'll be a lap down again. Hogan finally in for his final pit stop of the day.
And Hogan going to be trying to get out as quick as possible, but he's now going to be put a lap down. This is incredible from our top 3. Only 3 cars left on the lead lap.
David Santini in the 1, Joseph Piscota in the 9, and Chad Gunisman in the 22. This is exactly what he needed to do. He needed to keep himself ahead of the 24 of Vincent Arthur, who right now is mired down a lap down in the 8th position. So as things stand right now, with Taylor Butcher Benjamin in 4th, Chad Gunisman in 3rd, and Ty McWhirter in 5th, those are the 3 drivers that would be moving on to the championship battle at ISM next week, along with 2-time winner in this round, Boyd Hogan.
And a shocker to see is right now 3rd through 6th. The drivers are looking like they're going to be locking themselves into the final 4. But we can't officially say that now. There's still a lot of racing to be seen here. Still, closest battle on track that has been that way since the start is the battle for the lead between Santini and Piscota.
Both drivers seem to have a preferred line going into the corners. Piscota likes to hook it right down against that yellow line to the inside. Santini likes to run that middle line almost up into the upper groove of that middle line as well. Maybe the widest arc we've seen any driver take into these corners. But both drivers have found the areas of the track that they like. They have worked for them. And the strange thing is that they both have kind of equaled out as well. They both run identical lap times, running 2 entirely different areas of the track.
Yeah, and it's just the setups that these drivers have made. And the longer the run goes on, I mean, it looked like Piscota was gaining up on the 1, and then he had his slip up. That was Piscota when he slid, and then he lost about a second onto Santini before pit stops happened, which I think kind of forced the hand of Piscota. That was the moment that he had to come into the pits, get the fresh tires so he can get that time back. And now we're starting to see the drivers doing it again, just do-si-doing back and forth, seeing who's going to be really this leader. Santini continues to lead the way, and I think the most lap bonus point will most likely go to either the 1 or the 9, as they've just been back and forth for about 3/4 of this race.
Do-si-do might have been the most perfect term for what just happened over there in turns 3 and 4. I just got done saying Piscota likes the bottom, Santini likes the top. They swapped lanes on me.
They honestly just cannot figure out. I think they're both trying to see, hey, if you're running this and you've got a slight advantage, let me try this out. Okay, I don't like it. We'll try this spot out. And it's going to be a constant search of where is the speed as we go further and further into this run. But I mean, Seth, 25 laps to go. There's only a couple of more laps really to make an opportunity, and we're seeing it now. Piscota to the inside.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Right now, people are probably wondering, well, how can you win the race with 25 laps to go? These tires, as the run goes on, will continue and continue to wear. You've got to take advantage of the grip the fresh tires have right now to make a pass, and then hope you can preserve your tires to pad or maintain the lead that you have.
Yeah, I mean, right now, looking at the stint that these drivers are on, they've been on these tires for about 20, about to be 21 and 22 laps for both these drivers. And it was around the lap 35 on those tires when we've seen a lot of drivers have a couple of slip-ups and issues, and that's going to be in the next 15 laps or so. So keep our eyes out on lap number 218 if we're going to be seeing one of these drivers have an issue of accidentally wiggling it because the tires have a weird fluky spot around that time zone of the tires.
That's about the highest I've seen both these drivers go in 3 and 4. Santini was all the way up in the 3rd groove. Piscota was in the 2nd groove. Santini's in the wall, as again he was way up out of the groove there in 1 and 2, but battles back on the top side. Not going to be able to get the run off the quarter. Piscota clears for the top spot.
We always talk about how the outside driver has to pinch the inside driver, and that time around it was going to be Piscota actually pushing up Santini up the track. A very different move than what we're usually seeing, but a great pass by the 9.
Last 4 starts for Joseph Piscota. 3 straight 3rd place finishes and a runner-up finish last week at Texas. He's still looking to put a 1 in the win column, and little by little now, he's starting to pull away. I almost wonder if Santini might have used up his stuff. That car's losing a little bit on corner exit.
Yeah, I mean, he was pushing as hard as he could to try to stay in front of the 9 when they were side by side, and it's not looking great anymore for David Santini, but he's still in striking distance. I mean, if we can see him just back off, and this is probably what he's thinking about doing, is backing off, save his tires, let the 9 use his tires up here, and then make a final strike with about 15 laps to go.
Boyd Hogan and Vincent Arthur both stayed out the longest before coming to pit road. The two of them been trapped a lap down because of this. Hogan just moved by Taylor Butcher Benjamin up to 5th, now on the back bumper of Ty McWhirter for what would be the lucky dog position of 4th. Vincent Arthur right now in the 7th position. He just got around, I think it was Kevin Roy, who just hit pit lane. Looks like this is an unscheduled pit stop for the 31 car.
Yeah, the 31 of Kevin Roy, heavily damaged, has had a lot of hard contacts to the outside wall through coming out of 2 and out of 4, and looks like the 31 machine might be parking it for the day, as well as Chris Hansen's been in the pits for over 17 minutes. I think both those drivers are done, as David Santini, I think lap traffic might be causing a reason why he's losing even more time, as Ryan Strunk going to be put 2 laps down now, and the one of David Santini trying to get by the best that he can, but the gap now is over a half a second.
Sure, David. Whoa! Don't know if there might have been some contact there between himself and Ryan Strunk. We saw the one car wiggle. David Santini obviously does not want to finish.
Yeah, contact.
It looked like we didn't really get to see it happening, but we were on board with Santini and saw that car kind of snap there as we saw him go to the inside of the 77. But Santini trying not to finish second for the second time in 24 hours. He finished runner-up to his teammate down in the Rapid Fire Pizza National Series, Logan Helton, last night. And right now running second place to Joseph Piscota. He can see Piscota there about maybe half a straightaway ahead. We'll have to see if Santini can maybe cool his tires down, get into a rhythm, and start chipping back away. Right now the gap about 9/10 of a second between the 9 and the 1.
Yeah, I mean, David Santini right now, this is deja vu from last night. I mean, it was around the same exact time, coming to around 15 laps to go, and then just starts losing time on the leader. And that by the end of last night's race, Santini was back about a second and a half back from the leader. And after the incident with the 77 there, which looked like the one was trying to get in front of Ryan Strunk, but Strunk got a huge momentum and a lot of closing rate, as well as the one kind of got loose and drifted up a little bit too high. That's why there was a little bit of contact between the 1 and the 77. About 3-4 laps to go now, and at the moment, Piscota continues to pull away each lap.
Joseph Piscota was put in the 9 car for Hendrick Motorsports just following the All-Star race. We saw him make his first start at Charlotte Motor Speedway. And both he and Vincent Arthur actually jumped in the 9 and the 24 at the same time. Both of them advanced into the championship battle in the playoffs. Vincent Arthur's the only one that's been able to advance into the round of 8, as Piscota had a very rough round of 12 and was not able to advance to the next round. But you're almost kind of left wondering what if, because the run he has been on, 3rd place finishes, 3 of them in a row, a runner-up finish last week, and right now looking like he may be able to take a checkered flag. You asked the question earlier, Sam, about who is there out there that could maybe challenge Boyd Hogan for the championship? If Joseph Piscota had been in this final 8, he might have been the guy I would have picked.
Yeah, I mean, Piscota has just been like a rocket ship this whole entire playoffs. It's just the fact that he didn't have playoff points coming into the playoffs where it hurt him so much. And right now, that 9 car looking so good at the moment. And, it's promising for next season for these drivers to see, hey, a lot of cars that maybe didn't have the best shot just coming into the playoffs because they didn't run the whole entire season. Maybe they've got a better shot next season. And I think the momentum this 9 car can carry forward in the next season is very high, as Kevin Roy officially has DNF'd from this race.
Can't help but be impressed with Chad Gunisman here today as well. Spent most of this race hovering between 6th to 8th position. Worked his way up into the top 5 just prior to that round of green flag pit stops. With the strategy call to come to pit road little bit later than some of these other race leaders ahead of him, taking advantage of those fresher tires, right now running in the third position. So Chad Gunnisman doing exactly what he had to do to preserve his gap back to Vincent Arthur, and very much looking like he is going to be advancing into that championship 4. Laps continue to tick away. We're now down to 7. The gap has opened between Piscota and Santini to now a second and a half, and it doesn't look like Piscota is backing down at all. He has been a tenth quicker than Santini for the last 7 to 9 laps.
Yeah, it's been a tenth, sometimes 2/10, but the gap that is closing, though, is the gap for 6th place. Vincent Arthur on the much fresher tires than the 11 of Butcher Benjamin, but Vincent Arthur has been known to have only a short run car, it seems like, here at Iowa for the first about 15 laps, and then it just drops off. And it's looking close for a second, and as I call it, Vincent Arthur starts to his rhythm and pulling away from the 11.
Taylor Butcher Benjamin coming into this race with only 14 cars in the field, really only had to finish up in the top half of the field, and right now in 7th, that would be enough for him to advance, and holy cow. You talked about the dip down there over in 1 and 2. Just saw for a brief moment the whole front end of the 9 car jump up into the air. Saw the shadow underneath because that splitter came off the ground pretty high.
Oh yeah, no, that if you hit the dip just wrong, it really launches your car up, and you kind of are hoping that when it comes back down, you have the control, or you hope that it doesn't just launch you into the outside wall. It is a very terrifying moment to have in a car, and right now, just Piscota able to hold on for now, but he's got to know, hey, that dip is right there, as we're now coming to 3 laps to go. And, it was close up front for most of the race. And then David Santini, I think he just used up his tires trying to hold off the 9 that simply was just trying to pressure all this whole entire time.
Yeah, David Santini gave it a heck of a shot there, trying to become the second Rapid Fire Pizza National Series driver to win a Cup Series race. But it'll be 2 laps to go here for Joseph Piscota. And I know that he is praying he can come around and take that white flag, because the caution earlier on here, the first caution today, he was leading the race, had a huge gap back to 2nd place, and then before he knew it, with the caution out, everyone was back on his back bumper trying to challenge him for the race lead. So he does not want to see anything in the flagman's hand except that white flag, which he's going to see this time.
White flag in the air for Joseph Piscota in the 9 car that has been running in the top 3 all race long. The only drivers that are on the lead lap are our top 3 of Joseph Piscota, David Santini, and Chad Gunnisman. And here comes the 9 car.
And only his 21st start of the season, running the second half of the regular season and the playoffs. Joseph Piscota will capture the win here tonight at Iowa Speedway in the Buying with Tie race. And what a great run for him here tonight. What a streak he has been on. His 5th straight top 5 finish and his first checkered flag. I believe this is also the first checkered flag of the entire season for Hendrick Motorsports. So how about that?
And it was a solid race. I mean, this 9 car looked fantastic out here. Used a lot of great tactics on using picks to help himself with David Santini, and just overall a very fast car in this 9 that it was really looking poised to get a win here at the end of the regular season and during the playoffs. Just so fast, and finally got the win here.
8 drivers entered, only 4 moving on to the championship battle at ISM. Boyd Hogan was already locked in with his 2 wins in the last 2 weeks. However, the other 3 are official as well. 3rd place is enough for his teammate Chad Gunnisman to advance to the Final 4. Ty McWhirter, despite early connection problems, finishes 5th. That's enough to advance. And our regular season champion Taylor Butcher Benjamin in 7th will be the 4th and final driver to compete next week with a championship trophy on the line at ISM.
Yeah, I think coming into today's race, everyone had their eyes out on Boyd Hogan, but now you've got to really look. Chad Gunnisman finished in front of the 2 here today. Taylor Butcher Benjamin, we've seen at ISM previously, was quick and it finished in front of Boyd Hogan. Is Boyd Hogan even the favorite now going into ISM? I would say yes with the most wins, but based off what we've been seeing here today and based off the past, maybe he's not the favorite going in next week.
I mean, we've seen a lot of races, especially here in the playoffs, where Boyd Hogan has been one of the stronger cars, and it seems like circumstances, the timing of cautions, maybe just wrong place, wrong time with a wreck around him for that 2 car has run into a couple of issues. So you're right. It's going to be interesting to see if he is indeed going to establish himself as the favorite heading into that championship battle or not. Obviously, Chad Gunisman, Ty McWhorter, and Taylor Butcher Benjamin, they're going to do their darndest this week, I'm sure, to try and get that perfect setup to be able to take the checkered flag at ISM, which it's almost seeming like, especially with this group of drivers, it's going to be whoever wins the ISM race is going to win that championship.
Oh yeah, no, it's going to be based off the win. And these drivers have all been really strong and with the possible chance of a win. But again, we got to watch out for David Santini if he shows up again, as well as Piscota. They've been looking very strong, and you can't look out for any of the other drivers that have shown some strengths as well throughout this season that are outside of the playoffs.
Absolutely, and the scenario that I talked about at the top of the broadcast is going to come to fruition. Boyd Hogan, with his 14 wins, is going to take on McWhorter, Gunisman. Or I'm sorry, nope, correct that. I was going to say scenario that I was going to say earlier, but actually with Ty McWhorter in, nope, there is actually another repeat winner in there with his 2 wins. So disregard those last 15 minutes. Why don't we go down, get ourselves some driver interviews with our top 3 finishers. We're also going to take the opportunity to talk to some of the other drivers that didn't necessarily finish in the top 3, but are going to be competing for the championship. But one driver that did both here tonight, is moving on and finished in the podium, is Chad Gunisman. Hey, Chad, it's Sam and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us?
I got you guys.
Well, Chad, I mean, you came into tonight's race 3 points ahead of the cut line. You're basically, your goal was clear. You had to finish up there ahead of drivers like the 24 and the 77 and make sure that they didn't go to victory lane. You definitely were able to do that, but a strong performance out of you here tonight as well, a 3rd place run. So what kind of confidence does this give you going into that championship battle next week?
It gives us a lot of confidence. I think at least for me, I've just been running, kind of doing what I need to do to advance, but now going to next week, that's it. There's nothing to lose. So now I can just go flat out, and I know we'll have a good set behind us, so I think we'll be able to go there and put on a show.
Obviously, we don't know how many drivers there are going to be next week. We don't know how many drivers may be coming up from the National Series, how many drivers may be returning, how many cars will be taking the green flag there. You going into ISM in a must-win situation scenario, believing that whoever ends up winning the race is going to win this championship? Or do you think that there is a possibility that someone that's a non-playoff contender could take the checkered flag and it's going to come down just to best finishing position?
I think to win it. I think Boyd's probably going to be the favorite heading to that. He's going to be really fast, so I think either he's going to win the race in the championship or you're going to have to beat him and make him finish second. I think that's the only way you're going to get it done and get the championship next week.
Yeah, I mean, Chad, I still want to bring it up to this race. We had 2 competition cautions that came at points during the race where you had to use your tires. That last pit stop that was under green, was there any chance that you possibly were thinking, hey, I need to stay out and have the best tires at the end? Or was there anything else you possibly could have done to try to run down the front 2?
We still had a set left after that last pit stop. So really on that one, I didn't really worry about running long. I just wanted to get a lap led to increase that point buffer a little bit. So I waited a lap after David and Joseph pit, and then I guess I could tell it was going to be too hard a gap to close. I think they were 8 seconds ahead of me when they pit, so I just knew that I just had to race the racetrack, and I just left the car the same, so I know how I'd handle for that last run. I was content with there being what was on the line.
Well, Chad, you talked about the fact of just remaining consistent this season, doing what you had to do, not only in the regular season, but here in the playoffs. You've definitely been able to do that. This is only your 4th top 5 finish of the season, however, so congratulations on that. It's great to see you have that kind of momentum heading into a championship battle, and we're now going to turn the microphone over to you. Let's have some shout-outs.
Yeah, I just want to thank Boyd Hogan, everybody at Legacy Esports. They did not too much work on the car this week, but it was good enough for me and Joseph to run well tonight, and congrats to Joseph on the win. I want to thank all of our team sponsors, Reaper Setups, Bruzy, Oculus Glasses, and Butt Kicker. And then, of course, I want to thank the league sponsors, Vanderforn Wars, Soda Guys, iFlag, Showers Racing Graphics, FSM Customs, and Abiding Love Memorial Urns. And then I want to thank you guys for broadcasting all year and look forward to having one more race with you guys.
Well, that's Chad Gunnisman. He finishes third place here tonight at Iowa, advances into the championship four. Congrats on a great run, and we wish you luck heading into ISM next week.
Yep, thank you guys.
And let's see if we've got our second place finisher, and that would be David Santini. Hey, David, it's Sam and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us?
Hey, I got you guys.
Well, man, I mean, we talked to you last night. You finished runner-up in that one. Here tonight, you finished second place as well. But, man, what a heck of a battle between you and the 9, not only at the end of this race, but around the midway point of this race as well. It seemed like you guys kept swapping that lead back and forth and back and forth. But I got to ask you, we saw you running up there on the top side. No surprise, we saw you running there last night. We saw the 9 running down against the bottom. But then at another point, I turned to look, and the two of you are running different lines. You're running the opposite lines. Was that testing the waters, trying to see what is it that this guy's got an advantage of me on, and can I run this line against him?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the top wasn't faster at first for me. It seemed like once I got my tires a little warmed up, I could run the top a little bit. The bottom seemed to be faster no matter what, unless he got to me, and then I could keep him on the bottom, and he couldn't wash all the way up, where I would just gain so much speed. But no, I mean, that was a blast. I mean, it was just as fun as last night, if not more fun, as far as the multi-groove racing goes. It was awesome.
You know, obviously it's a different car. It's the same track, somewhat different track conditions, though. We saw that there was an extra couple of degrees in the track temp, over 70 degrees out there. But was there anything from last night's race with the Xfinity car that you were able to carry over here into tonight's race with the Cup car?
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty much running from what felt like the same kind of line in 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 seemed a little bumpier in this car. I don't know why. But 3 and 4, I was still trying to do that kind of low arc, I guess you would say, and then run the top sometimes if somebody was below you. But no, I mean, this rules package for this car is a lot more fun to me than the high downforce package. It was pretty enjoyable.
Well, a great run for you here tonight, David. We've seen you take part in the Cup Series races for the last 2 weeks, so hopefully we'll see you as well for the finale next week at ISM. But for now, we're going to let you do some shout-outs.
Yeah, no, thanks a lot, guys. Of course, you guys for putting these broadcasts on each and every week. Everybody who puts on the league and supports it. And, of course, Veterans of Foreign Wars, Soda Guys, iRacing, iFlag, Shorbers Racing Graphics, FSM Customs, and Abiding Love Memorial Urns, and my teammates over at BJ McLeod Motorsports.
That's David Santini. He puts the Chip Ganassi Racing Chevrolet in second place here tonight at Iowa. Congrats on a great weekend overall. Back-to-back second places here in the 2 series, and we look forward to talking to you, of course, next Saturday, and as well, hopefully on Friday, maybe as a championship driver.
Yeah, hopefully you talk to me in first place win next weekend.
Well, that's David Santini. Let's now see if we can go down to Victory Lane, where Joseph Pascoda is standing by for the very first time this season. Hey, Joseph, it's Sam and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us?
I got you guys.
Well, I mean, man, let's talk about your road in the last 5 weeks. Third, second, and finally, you get your first career win. You get Hendrick Motorsports' first win of the season as well. How good does it feel to finally get that monkey off your back? Because it just seemed like, as I said, in the last 4 weeks, you've been so close. You've had a race-winning capable car. You just haven't been able to close the deal. You finally have gotten it done.
That was crazy. I never thought I would have been able to do that. The car was it was crazy. That race was crazy, and I never thought I'd be in victory lane. I always finished second or third to Boyd every time. I mean, I was so happy I won. I drove the wheels off it there at the end.
Talk about that battle between yourself and Santini, because the two of you seemed like you wanted to run entirely different lines, but you came up even off the corner every single time. The lap times were very similar. At what point did you finally start to feel I've got an advantage on him?
I reeled them in before the final pit stop, and I threw some adjustments on it, and we were just once we got the right. I know he got by me, and then when I got up to him, the car just kept clicking there on the bottom. And it's just when I finally got even with him, I knew how to dive it in, and I got that clean air. The car was just on a rail there at the end. It was really good, so that adjustment really helped.
As I said, you finally got that first trip to victory lane. Going to be finishing out the season at ISM next week, so you looking for maybe another one?
Oh yeah, Legacy Sports Short Track program is great. That setup was done in like 20 to 30 minutes, and it was fast. And hopefully we can get another win. It feels really good finally to win after finishing second so many times.
Well, Joseph, congratulations on your win here tonight. Well deserved, especially after the momentum streak that you've been on. We look forward to seeing if you can carry this momentum into the season finale next week. But for now, we're going to turn the microphone over to you. Let you do some shout outs.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I got to thank, the VFW, Soda Guys, iRacing, iFlag, Shorebirds Racing Graphics, FSM Customs, and Fighting Love Memorial Arms, and for sure, Reaper Speed Labs, Legacy Esports, Brizzy, and Butt Kicker, and definitely you guys for putting on a good show every week.
That's Joseph Piscotta. Finally, he gets into victory lane with that Mountain Dew Chevrolet Camaro. Congratulations on your first win of the season there, Joseph. Go enjoy it.
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
And as we stated, those were the top 3 finishers. We've got another 3 drivers to interview, drivers that are also going to be moving on along with Chad Gunisman to the final 4. And it looks like we don't have them. Well, they've actually all left the Discord. So apparently they thought we were just going to be doing the top 3. So unfortunately, we won't be able to get the mindset of Boyd Hogan, Taylor Butcher Benjamin, and Ty McWhirter moving on to that championship battle. Maybe, just maybe, we'll see if we can interview them pre-race next week when we have coverage at ISM Raceway. But it should be a good one. It should be a great season finale. From the sound of it there with Chad Gunisman, everybody's going to be gunning for that 2 of Boyd Hogan. No doubt with 14 wins, he is the guy that everyone's expecting to be the favorite. But we have seen, as we stated here, these playoffs, they have not in any way been cut and dry as to who the race winner is going to be. And even the case here tonight, we ended up having the top 2 finishers being non-playoff contenders. The highest playoff contender was 3rd place in Chad Gunisman, followed by Boyd Hogan. So, Sam, what are we looking at next week in terms of that championship battle? Because you brought up the question, who can beat Boyd Hogan? But it also could come down to, is it going to be you win the race, you win the championship, just based on what we saw here tonight?
I mean, based on what we've been seeing the last 2 weeks, I mean, we know that just Piscotta has been figuring and finding out some wicked quick setups for this 9 machine to be up there. And if we start seeing David Santini back, he's been another machine that's been quick and been up front in the top 5 whenever he's running. So I'm excited to see where these drivers are going to be finishing out the end. But I think everyone knows going into ISM next week, Boyd Hogan is the favorite. He's been quick all season long. He has the most wins out of everyone in this league and really is the man to watch out for. But we really cannot say that he has already won this thing because all the other 3 drivers are quick and have a chance.
Still 156 laps to decide that championship. And next week at ISM, it will play host to deciding who is going to be the one to hoist that championship trophy. Next week as well, however, it's going to be the season finale for the Rapid Fire Pizza National Series. We talked with David Santini just moments ago. He's going to be in that battle to try and see if he can win that championship along with 3 other drivers. We're going to have coverage of that for you on Friday night. Green flag to fly at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then Saturday night, we find out the champion here for the Veterans of Foreign War Cup Series, as they'll be at ISM Raceway as well. Green flag will fly at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time there as well. But a wacky Halloween here tonight for the trick or treat. It's treat for Joseph Piscotta tonight as he treats himself to a champagne bath in victory lane, his first career win here in the Veterans of Foreign War Cup Series.
Yeah, an exciting day for this 9 machine and an exciting day for the final 4 that are going to be battling for that championship next week. Also another driver that got treat. I think gotta say, Ty McWhirter, very fortunate on the fact that he had that issue early in the run and the admins allowed him to get his laps back.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about that. Early connection problems. And after 2 competition cautions, getting back on the lead lap, bringing it home 5th and going to be competing for that championship. He and Boyd Hogan, the only two drivers heading into the Final Four that have wins on the season, but should be a good one, not only for the Veterans of War Cup Series, but also for the Rapid Fire Pizza National Series, that doubleheader on Friday and Saturday to find out who's going to win those championships. I'll be there along with Samuel Dyer. Sam, going to really look forward to that one, but appreciate you joining me here tonight for this one.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how it's going to finish out next week. It's going to be a blast for sure.
I want to thank one more time our sponsor for tonight's race, Buying with Ty. You can check them out at Buying with Ty on Facebook. But for Samuel Dyer, I'm Seth Cole. Enjoy the rest of your Halloween evening, folks. You've been watching another broadcast courtesy of the Flatout Racing Network.